Welcome to the channel, That Retired Guy. Now my name is Darell, and if you've seen any of my earlier videos, you'll know that the focus of this channel is how to live your best life. Now in this episode, I want to tell you about the Freedom Convoy of 2022 and show you the Freedom Rally that's happening in Ottawa. Now if you've watched my earlier videos, you'll know that I generally stay away from overly political issues, but today's an exception. So in this episode, I'd like to show you what the people of Canada, and actually people from all over the world, are doing to stand up for freedom. I mean, these are the freedoms that our parents and our grandparents, they fought and died for. These freedoms have been slowly stripped away from Canadians over the past couple of years with this COVID. Without freedom of choice, without freedom of speech, freedom of the press, without freedom to travel or freedom of conscience and religion, I mean, what's left of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms? So when people are losing their jobs and when whole segments of society are demonized and discriminated against, there's no possibility that you can live your best life. Now to show you what Canadians are doing about this, here's a window into the Freedom Convoy of 2022, at least from that retired guy's perspective. Now to set the stage, Deborah and I, Grandma and Grandpa, we've been watching this truckers convoy as it was forming and moving east from the west coast of Canada, right through this cold Canadian winter. I mean, we're talking about January days, minus 30 degrees. And these truckers are rolling on down the highway, and there's thousands and thousands of people greeting them and waving all the way along the route. Now, we've been watching the news on YouTube and Rumble a lot. I mean, thankfully, otherwise we wouldn't even know about the convoy. The Freedom Convoy, that's a bunch of truckers, and they just say that they've had enough with government mandates and the requirement for vaccine passports. Now, we've been concerned about what was happening with the supply chain and couldn't believe that the government would throw a wrench into the whole thing by introducing vaccine passports for truckers just across the border. I mean, what were they thinking? So if you try and find answers, though, by tuning into the mainstream media channels, all you get are warnings about extremist elements, and you hear our Prime Minister calling them a fringe group, and they have unacceptable views.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
Now, lately, the government and the media, they've been ramping up these hateful messages about all those people who choose not to vaccinate. I mean, the level of discrimination and hate being directed at fellow Canadians is scary. This is not the Canada that I want to leave to my grandkids. So Grandma and I, we're going to join that freedom rally down in Ottawa, our nation's capital. Okay, so now I pull on my Team Canada jersey over top of my winter coat. I grab my BC Lions toque from British Columbia, support the West Coast. I grab the red Canadian flag that Grandma's going to be able to wrap around herself, and we're heading off to the train station. Now, we've never taken the train before, so this is going to be a grand adventure in itself. We board the train. We're heading for Parliament Station, right downtown where the Parliament buildings are, where half of the convoy is parked and the rest are filling up the streets of downtown Ottawa. Now, being dutiful Canadians, though, we wear our masks and we wave and cheer with the others on that train heading downtown. We arrive downtown at 12 noon, the official starting time, but the trucks and the crowds have been there all night, and the streets are full of proud Canadians from every province. And we make our way down the truck-filled streets towards the Parliament buildings. I mean, the crowds are massive. There's Canadians from all walks of life, young and old. You see the kids getting tours of the big rigs as the truckers open their doors to them. You see the Indigenous Canadians banging their drums, and the horns from the trucks are all blasting nonstop. We inch our way through the crowds, and Deborah turns to me and she says, "I've never seen so many people smiling in one place in my lifetime." And it's true. There wasn't one angry person that we saw in that crowd. I mean, everyone was singing and cheering and waving banners. Now, my fingers are freezing because I'm trying to catch all this on my cell phone. I mean, it's minus 17 degrees after all. We're freezing cold, but I mean, our hearts are warmed by the sight of Canadians coming together, uniting in their common fight for freedom. It's a sight to behold. We watch with pride as we inch our way through the crowds. And after a time, we make our way back to the train station and all aboard for a quick ride home. Now, we're sitting in the train car, and halfway home we realize we've forgotten to put our masks back on. We laugh and wonder why the many security agents didn't come after us. And what are they going to do if they catch us now? Well, I tell Grandma, well, we'll just say that we came back from the Freedom Convoy and the government has removed all the restrictions. Haven't you heard? Anyway, as I like to say, it was another grand adventure, and we're all glad that we got a chance to be part of history, a part of history that's all about Canadians coming together in their fight for freedom. Now, if you like this story, please like and subscribe. You can also join the conversation on my locals page. Now, I can't say I'll be covering many political topics again in the future, but you can be sure that I'll be covering more stories about life for that retired guy. And until next time we meet, live your best life.